What if I told you that yes, you, could be convinced to electrocute a stranger just because someone told you to? Not in a dream, not in a movie, in real life. Welcome to the Subtle Mind channel. We are a channel dedicated to unraveling the mysteries, subtleties, and ingenuity of the human mind. At the Subtle Mind, we explore the secrets of behavior, psychology, and the nuances that shape our thoughts, emotions, and decisions. If you're fascinated by the power of the mind and seek to better understand its workings to gain more confidence, clarity, and success, join us on this journey of self-discovery and insight. Let's talk about obedience, authority, and how disturbingly fragile our moral compass becomes when we're under pressure. Today, we're going to talk about the most terrifying psychology experiment ever conducted. Stay with us. In 1961, at the prestigious Yale University, psychologist Stanley Milgram designed what would become one of the most controversial and unsettling experiments in the history of behavioral science. But Milgram wasn't just curious. He was disturbed. The world had just witnessed the Nuremberg trials, where high-ranking Nazi officers were being held accountable for crimes against humanity. And time after time, their defense was the same. I was just following orders. That excuse echoed like a haunting chorus. So Milgram asked a chilling question. Are atrocities committed only by monsters? Or can ordinary, decent people be led to do unthinkable things under the right conditions? He wasn't testing intelligence. He wasn't testing morality in a vacuum. He was testing obedience. How far would someone go? Not out of hatred or rage, but simply because an authority figure told them to. He wanted to expose something raw, something dangerous, something that might live inside all of us. So he built a scenario that looked like a harmless scientific study. But what it revealed was terrifyingly human. The experiment. Here's how it worked. A participant comes in thinking they're part of a study on memory and learning. They're introduced to another man, supposedly another participant, but actually an actor. Then, roles are assigned. One person will be the teacher, the other the learner. The teacher, the real participant, is told to read word pairs to the learner and administer an electric shock whenever the learner gives a wrong answer. What they didn't know, the shocks weren't real, but the screams were. Pre-recorded, painful, blood-curdling. Each mistake would require a stronger shock. The voltage dials had labels like moderate, severe, and eventually XXX, danger, severe shock. And someone in a white lab coat, an authority figure, would calmly say, "Please continue." The experiment requires that you continue. You have no other choice. And guess what? 65% of participants delivered what they believed was a potentially lethal shock. Not monsters, not sociopaths, regular people. Oh, a small reminder. If the mind subjects interest you, do not forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. Let's go back to our video. The fallout. Many of the participants left the experiment believing they had seriously harmed, or even killed, another person. Some sat in silence, staring at the floor. Others broke down in tears. One man reportedly said, "I was sweating, trembling. I kept saying to myself, I can't do this, I can't hurt him, but I did." The emotional trauma was so intense that Milgram followed up with many of the volunteers months later. While most were relieved to learn the truth, the realization that they could have caused real harm under pressure left a permanent psychological mark. What disturbed people the most wasn't the deception. It was what the deception revealed about themselves. Even those who refused to go all the way reported feeling deep guilt for not standing up earlier. They were haunted by the moment they looked at an authority figure, heard the words, "The experiment requires that you continue," and chose to obey instead of walk away. Milgram, too, was shaken. He had expected some obedience, but not that much. He once wrote, "Ordinary people, simply doing their jobs, and without any particular hostility on their part, can become agents in a terrible destructive process. This wasn't just an experiment. It was a mirror. And what people saw in it terrified them. The implications. The Milgram experiment didn't just rattle academia. It echoed through courtrooms, military institutions, workplaces, and schools. It showed us that evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it wears a name badge, carries a clipboard, and speaks politely. Think about this. If 65% of participants were willing to give what they thought was a lethal shock, simply because someone in a lab coat told them to, what happens in a real-life system, with uniforms, chains of command, and real consequences for disobedience? From military atrocities to corporate whistleblowers being silenced, to online mobs blindly following influencers, Milgram's findings are everywhere. It's not about those people over there. It's about us. You. Me. How far would we go? And here's something even more uncomfortable. When Milgram replicated the experiment in different countries, different age groups, and different time periods, the results barely changed. Obedience was still disturbingly high. Even small tweaks, like doing the test in a more professional setting, increased obedience. That means the environment around us can override our values without us even realizing it. In a world where we're constantly bombarded by commands, buy this, follow that, obey this rule, Milgram's study forces us to ask a hard question. Are we living our lives based on our principles, or are we just playing roles assigned by invisible scripts? The Milgram experiment didn't just scare psychologists. It scared us all, because it peeled back the curtain of civilization and showed us something primitive underneath. And perhaps the most terrifying part is knowing that you and I might have done the exact same thing. But here's the silver lining. Milgram didn't conduct this study to shame us. He did it to wake us up, to show us that awareness is the first step to resistance, that just because authority speaks doesn't mean we have to listen. That disobedience in the face of injustice is not rebellion, it's responsibility. So the next time someone says, "It's just the rules," I'm just following orders. Ask yourself, where have I heard that before? In a world increasingly driven by systems, automation, groupthink, and hierarchy, we need more than ever to pause, to reflect, and to reclaim our moral agency. Because the true experiment never ended. It's happening every day, everywhere. And the question remains, will you obey, or will you think? Thanks for watching The Subtle Mind. Stay curious, stay aware, and above all, question everything. If the mind subjects interest you, do not forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. See you in our next video.